36 million Americans have an HSA. Most of them don't realize they're holding the single most powerful retirement account in the US tax code. Triple tax advantaged, no required withdrawals, no mandatory distributions at any age. And about 70% of people who own one are using it wrong, leaving over $400,000 on the table by the time they retire. The IRS built this account quietly, then put it in your HR portal next to your dental insurance, under a different name. Mateo just turned 30. He's a software engineer at a mid-sized firm. He maxes out his 401k every year. He bumped his contribution to 15% after his last raise. He thinks he's doing everything right. He isn't. There's an account hiding in his open enrollment forms that beats his 401k on every tax dimension that matters, and he's been skipping it for 5 straight years. Here's the part that's going to bother you. By the time Mateo finishes watching this, he'll realize he left about $1,300 in tax savings on the table last year alone. And over 3 decades, that gap turns into more than $500,000 of tax-free retirement money he could have built quietly in the background. Before I show you the math, you need to understand one number from the 2026 tax code. Without it, the strategy doesn't work. With it, the IRS basically hands you a third type of retirement account that no other vehicle in the entire code can match. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which step Mateo skipped, the 5-part system that fixes it, and the one rule about this account that even financial advisors miss. Quick note, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't personalized advice. It's what the tax code says and what the math shows. Always do your own homework before making big moves with retirement accounts. Here's the thesis. The HSA is not a health insurance account that happens to have tax perks. It's structurally a retirement account hidden under a health label with one tax feature no other account in the tax code can legally offer. The 5-step system unlocks it. Most people only ever use the first step. That one feature is called the triple tax advantage. Every other retirement account gets 2 tax breaks. The HSA gets 3. Pre-tax going in, tax-free growth, and tax-free coming out for any medical expense you've ever paid in your life. Let me put that next to a 401k and a Roth. Phase 1. 3 tax checkpoints in the account that skips all of them. Every retirement account in the US tax code is taxed at one of 3 checkpoints. Money going in, growth along the way, money coming out. A traditional 401k is taxed at one of those checkpoints, the way out. You skip tax going in, you skip tax on growth, you pay full ordinary income tax at withdrawal. 1 tax bite. A Roth IRA is also taxed at one checkpoint, the way in. You pay full tax now, growth is free, withdrawal is free. Also 1 tax bite. The HSA is taxed at 0 checkpoints. Pre-tax going in, like a traditional. Tax-free growth, like both. Tax-free withdrawal, like a Roth, but with one specific condition. The withdrawal has to match a qualified medical expense at some point in your life. That's the trick. That medical expense condition isn't a constraint, it's a hall pass. The average couple retiring at 65 will spend over $300,000 on healthcare in retirement, according to Fidelity's latest estimate. Your HSA absorbs that entire bill tax-free. $300,000 of withdrawals at 0 tax owed. And here's Mateo's first-year math. In 2026, the HSA contribution limit for a single person is $4,400. Mateo's federal marginal tax rate is 22%, so contributing the max saves him $968 in federal tax. If he routes the contribution through payroll, he also dodges 7.65% in FICA tax, another $337. Total first-year tax savings, over $1,300. For one transaction. This is the part most people miss. There's a step in the HSA Stacking Method that about 70% of HSA owners never even know exists. We'll get there in Phase 4. It's the difference between an HSA that grows to $150,000 and one that grows to over $600,000. Phase 2. The HDHP gate. Eligibility nobody explains right. You can't open an HSA on its own. The IRS gates it behind one specific health insurance type. A high-deductible health plan. HDHP for short. For 2026, the IRS defines an HDHP as a plan with a deductible of at least $1,700 for self-only coverage, or $3,400 for family coverage. Your maximum out-of-pocket is capped at $8,500 for single, $17,000 for family. HDHPs sound scary because the deductible is higher. But here's what most people miss. The monthly premium is almost always significantly lower than the equivalent PPO. The premium savings often offset the higher deductible, even before you touch the HSA. For Mateo at 30, healthy, single, no chronic conditions, the math heavily favors the HDHP. His current PPO costs him about $2,800 a year in premiums. The HDHP at his company costs $1,100. The premium savings alone, $1,700 a year, would cover his entire deductible if he hit it. And he hasn't hit it in 5 years. So Mateo has been overpaying for insurance and locking himself out of the HSA at the same time. 2 bad outcomes, 1 decision. Look, I have to be honest with you. The HDHP isn't right for everyone. If you take 5 expensive medications a month, or you have a chronic condition, or you're planning a baby this year, the PPO often wins on total cost. The HDHP wins when you're a healthy, predictable medical user. Most people in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s fit that profile and don't realize it. The math test is simple. Compare your annual premiums plus expected out-of-pocket on each plan. If the HDHP comes out lower, take it and open the HSA. If the PPO comes out lower, stay there. 2 minutes of math, 1 open enrollment window, decades of compounding on the other side of the answer. And there's a state tax trap that 2 specific states wrote into law. Mateo doesn't live in either of them, but the trap matters for about 15% of viewers. We'll get to it in Phase 5. Phase 3, Mateo's HSA Stacking Method. This is the money system for the video. The HSA Stacking Method. 5 steps. Each one builds on the last. Skip any step and the account loses 90% of its power. Step 1. Enroll in an HDHP at open enrollment. This unlocks HSA eligibility. Without the HDHP, none of the other steps matter. Step 2. Max the contribution via payroll deduction. The 2026 cap is $4,400 for self only, $8,750 for family. Payroll deduction is critical because it dodges FICA. Direct contributions only save federal income tax, not FICA. That 7.65% difference compounds over 30 years into real money. Step 3. Pay current medical expenses out of pocket. Do not reimburse yourself from the HSA. This is the step almost everyone skips. The point of the HSA is not to be a checking account for doctor visits. The point is to let the money compound for 30 years. Step 4. Invest the balance. Do not let the HSA sit in cash. We'll spend the whole next phase on this one because it's where most HSA owners lose $450,000 without knowing it. Step 5. Save every medical receipt. Build a digital folder. Every copay, every prescription, every contact lens fitting. Every dollar spent on medical care from the day you open the HSA. The IRS has no time limit on reimbursement. A receipt from 2026 can be used to reimburse yourself in 2050. Tax-free, no questions asked. That last part is the receipt vault. It's the secret hiding inside the receipt saving step. We'll come back to it. Here's Mateo's projection. He starts at 30, contributes $4,400 a year for 35 years to age 65. Invests in a basic index fund averaging 7% annual return. The future value of that annuity comes out to over $608,000, all of it tax-free for any medical expense across his entire life. Or after 65, taxable like a traditional account for non-medical use, with no penalty. And here's the part that works in his favor. The IRS adjusts the HSA contribution cap upward every year for inflation. The $4,400 today will be closer to $7,500 by the time Mateo is 50. His real lifetime contribution ceiling is closer to $200,000. The compounding on top of that is the engine. Phase 4, the cash trap that cost you $450,000. Here's the data point that should make you angry. Roughly 70% of HSA holders never invest the balance. The money sits in a checking account style cash position, earning effectively nothing. Sometimes 10 basis points, sometimes 0. This is the single biggest leak in the HSA system, and it's not an accident. The default settings on most employer-sponsored HSAs route contributions to a cash account by default. You have to actively go opt into the investment side. Most people don't know there is one. Let me show you what the cash trap costs. Same $4,400 a year, same 35 years. But sitting in cash at 1/10 of 1%. The future value comes out to about $156,000. Basically just the principal plus a thin layer of interest. The same money invested in a low-cost index fund at 7% grows to over $608,000. The difference is over $450,000. That's the price of skipping step 4. Most HSA owners are getting maybe 20% of what this account can actually do. The cash trap alone wipes out more wealth than 3 years of maxed out 401k contributions. The fix is mechanical. Most HSA custodians let you invest above a small cash buffer. Fidelity HSA has no minimum and no fees. Lively lets you self-direct. Some employer-sponsored HSAs require you to keep $1,000 or $2,000 in cash before investing, but anything above that can go into an index fund. Set the auto-invest rule once, forget it. And here's the part most people don't realize. Even if your employer's HSA has high fees, you can transfer the balance to a better custodian. HSAs are portable. You don't need to leave the employer's plan to roll the money. You can do a trustee-to-trustee transfer to Fidelity once a year, even while still contributing through payroll. Now here's the part most people skip. Don't skip this. There's a strategy hidden in the IRS rules that lets Mateo withdraw HSA money for non-medical reasons before retirement, without paying the 20% penalty. It's the receipt vault, and it's about to make the entire account look very different. Phase 5, the receipt vault and 3 traps. The receipt vault is the part of the HSA stacking method that quietly turns the account into the most flexible retirement vehicle in the entire tax code. Here's how it works. The IRS has no time limit on HSA reimbursement. As long as the medical expense happened after you opened the HSA, you can reimburse yourself for it at any future point in your life, tax-free. Mateo's example. He spends $500 at the dentist in 2026. He pays out of pocket and saves the receipt in a digital folder. The HSA balance stays untouched. It keeps compounding. 25 years later, in 2051, Mateo wants to take $500 out of the HSA to fix his car. Not medical. But he doesn't need to call it medical. He just submits the 2026 dentist receipt and reimburses himself $500 tax-free. The car money came out tax-free on a 25-year-old qualified expense. This is why the receipt vault matters. Every dollar you spend on medical care today becomes a tax-free withdrawal coupon for any future expense. Over 35 years of saved receipts, the average maxing HSA owner builds up enough reimbursement room to cover most ordinary retirement spending tax-free. Now let's see the 3 ways this whole thing falls apart, starting with the one almost everyone gets wrong. Trap 1. Reimbursing yourself for current medical expenses instead of saving the receipts. This is the trap that destroys the receipt vault. Every time you pull money out of the HSA to pay a current bill, you lose 30 years of potential compounding on that dollar. The fix is to pay current medical out of pocket and let the HSA grow. Trap 2. California and New Jersey don't conform to federal HSA tax treatment. These 2 states tax HSA contributions and HSA growth at the state level. Mateo lives in Texas, so this doesn't apply to him. But if you live in California or New Jersey, your state tax savings disappear. The federal triple tax advantage still works. State level, it's reduced to a double. Still worth doing, just less so than for the other 48 states. Trap 3. Letting your HSA sit at a high-fee employer custodian after you leave the job. HSAs are portable. The account follows you, not the job. But many people leave a balance in an HSA bank or Optum HSA after job changing, where monthly fees and high investment expense ratios quietly erode returns. The fix is to roll the old HSA to Fidelity within 90 days of leaving the job. 0 fees, full index fund access, 1 trustee-to-trustee transfer form. These 3 traps are predictable. They're survivable. They're not the real reason most HSA owners underuse the account. The real reason is structural. The HSA was designed to look like a health benefit, not like a retirement vehicle. Until you flip that frame, you won't max it. Phase 6, why the HSA wins as Layer 4. If you watch the 6-layer retirement order video on this channel, you'll remember the HSA was named Layer 4. We mentioned it. We didn't explain why it earns that spot. Here's why. Compare the HSA to the other accounts you're already using versus the Roth IRA. The Roth gets a double tax advantage. Tax on the way in, tax-free out. The HSA gets a triple. The HSA also has a higher annual contribution ceiling when you stack the family limit. And the HSA has no required minimum distributions. The Roth IRA wins on one dimension: no medical use requirement. The HSA wins on 3 versus the traditional 401k. The 401k gets a single tax advantage, deferred to withdrawal. It's then subject to required minimum distributions starting at 73. The HSA has no RMDs, ever. The 401k wins on contribution limit at $24,500 a year. The HSA wins on tax efficiency, on RMDs, and on flexibility after 65. Versus an employer 401k match. The match wins. Free money trumps tax efficiency. This is why layer 1 in the order is the match. Layer 4 is HSA. The match runs first. After 65, the HSA gets a structural feature most people don't know about. The 20% penalty for non-medical withdrawals disappears. You can pull from the HSA for anything, non-medical, completely unrelated, and pay only ordinary income tax. Just like a traditional 401k, but without the RMD. It becomes the most flexible retirement account you own. Picture two savers at 65. Saver A has $800,000 in a traditional 401k and 0 in an HSA. Saver B has $700,000 in a 401k and $150,000 in an HSA, plus 35 years of saved medical receipts. Same total, same $150,000 sitting in the same index funds, different tax outcomes. Saver B spends the HSA tax-free for healthcare costs and reimburses old receipts tax-free for anything else. Saver A pays ordinary income tax on every withdrawal. Same nest egg, different tax bills. Saver B keeps tens of thousands more across retirement. So the question isn't whether the HSA works. It does. The question is whether you'll use all 5 steps or just the first one. Here are the 3 concrete action steps. Step 1. At your next open enrollment, run the math test on the HDHP versus PPO. Add up annual premiums plus your realistic expected out-of-pocket on each plan. If HDHP wins, take it. If the PPO wins because of a chronic condition or planned medical use, stay there. Don't pick the HDHP for the HSA if the underlying insurance is wrong for your situation. The math comes first. Step 2. Once you're enrolled in the HDHP, set up max payroll deducted contributions to the HSA. This single setup, done once at HR, saves you both federal income tax and FICA tax. Set the deduction to hit the full $4,400 for self only or $8,750 for family. If your employer contributes a match or a flat seed amount, that's stacked on top, tax-free. Step 3. Invest the balance and start the receipt vault. Move the HSA to a custodian with no fees and full investment options if your employer's plan charges them. Fidelity HSA is the current best-in-class for 0 fees and full mutual fund access. Set the contributions to auto-invest into a basic index fund. Then, every time you pay a medical bill out of pocket, save the receipt. PDF, photo, anything searchable. 1 digital folder for 30 years. That's the HSA Stacking Method. Grab the 1-page PDF in the description if you want a clean copy of the 5 steps. Mateo did all 3. He switched to the HDHP at his next open enrollment. He set up max payroll deducted contributions. He moved the existing HSA balance to Fidelity. He set the auto invest rule. He started a digital folder for receipts. Here's the part nobody told Mateo until after he did the math. Over 35 years of maxed contributions at 7%, his HSA will hit over $600,000 by the time he turns 65. Add the receipts he'll save along the way, co-pays, prescriptions, his future kids' pediatrician visits, and most of that $600,000 becomes tax-free for anything he wants to spend it on in retirement. The federal government will not see another cent of that money. Not at growth, not at withdrawal, not at his death if his spouse inherits. The tax door closed on the day he switched health plans. That's the move. One sentence to remember. The IRS built 3 tax advantages into one account and hid it behind a health insurance label. Open the label, stack the 5 steps, compound for 30 years. The HSA stacking method does 4 things at once. It dodges federal income tax on the way in. It dodges FICA on payroll contributions. It compounds tax-free for decades, and it withdraws tax-free for any medical expense from any point in your life. If this hit, drop a comment. Which step were you skipping? The HDHP, the investing, or the receipt vault? And here's the watch next. If you like this strategy, you'll want to see the last video on the Roth conversion ladder. Same logic. The IRS publishes the rules, you just have to read them. That one shows how early retirees legally pay 0 federal tax in their 50s using the standard deduction as their free conversion room. The HSA is layer 4. The Roth ladder is what you do once you're already retired and want to keep the tax door closed. Click that one next. I'll link it right here. That's the move. Money made simple.